Right, that's fine. So the first item we've got on the agenda for today is the election of chair, and members will be aware that in accordance with the 21 local government measure and again the 21 Local Government Act, the committee is required to appoint the chair, who must be a lay independent member. So can I have nominations from the floor, please?
I would like to nominate the previous Vice John as chair.
When can I come in here? I did tick, when I filled in the form for the application, I did tick the box that I was prepared to be chair, but my personal circumstances, as you know, have changed somewhat. And although I've had better news on that front, I don't want to take on something that I can't complete.
That's fine, John.
But I would be very happy to assist whoever is chair as vice chair if the committee deems that appropriate.
Okay, that's fine. So as John's stepping back from that, can I have another nomination, please? Councillor Ange, Councillor William. Who do you want to nominate, please?
I'd like to nominate Linda Hamilton, please.
Okay. William.
I would be happy to second that proposition if colleagues are agreeable.
Okay, so we have a proposer and seconder. Any other nominations? Okay, what I'm proposing, Councillor William, if you could put your hand down for a second, please.
Certainly.
What I'm proposing is, if all's in favour, can you just put a hand up, please, just to indicate your support? That looks unanimous. So congratulations, Lynn. I declare you as chair of the committee.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much, Wynne. It's a privilege to have been nominated. Thank you.
Would you like to take over the agenda, Lynn?
Thank you very much.
Or do you want me to carry on? It's up to you.
I'm happy to go. I'm happy to go, but I'm trusting, Wynne, that you'll keep me right.
I will. Yes, I will.
If I make any early slip-ups. So we move on to agenda item 2, which is election of a vice chair for the ensuing year. So when I assume we'll go through the same process that you initiated earlier.
Same process again, please, for nomination. And again, with the vice chair, the only stipulations we've got is that the vice chair must not be a member of the executive or an assistant to the executive.
Thank you very much, Wynne. So I open for nominations to vice chair, please, colleagues.
Chair, I'd like to nominate John Broughton as vice chair, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We also have Councillor Ange, I think, hands still up, and Councillor William, hands still up.
I'd like to nominate John Broughton, please, for vice chair.
So we've got 2 nominations for John. Wynne, keep me right?
That's fine. Councillor William, are you supporting
I
or
wanted
seconding?
to do exactly the same thing, Chair. So so that's excellent.
So as we have 3 people nominating, I think we have a proposer and a seconder.
Mm-hmm.
Any other nominations from the floor? None. Again, then please, Chair, if you'd ask Councillor William if you can put your hand down. Again, yeah. Can we have a show of hands, please? And that's unanimous.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you. And on a personal note, I'm very grateful for John indicating earlier that he would be willing to stand as vice chair in support of me, given his vast experience in the authority.
Thank you very much. It would be a privilege to serve, and I'll do my very, very best to live up to expectations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. When we move on to apologies, I think we were recording Councillor Peat as an apology.
Yes, I am. And also Councillor David Thomas, who's the cabinet member, who's away on leave at the moment.
Right, thank you very much. Item 4 is declarations of interest.
So any declarations from any members related to any items on the agenda?
No.
None at all, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Which brings us to item 5, which is the appointment of the finance panel. And the committee is requested to appoint one of its independent lay members as a member of the finance panel. So as we've done before, a nomination and a seconder, or multiple nominations, but if anyone would like to nominate. I've got Councillor Ange and Councillor Graham.
I'd like to nominate Gareth Hall, please.
Thank you, Councillor Ange, and I've got Councillor Graham.
Yeah, I'm happy to second that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Graham. Are there any further nominations for the finance panel?
So if all members can show them, please, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor, oh, right. Oh. Okay. Thank you. That looks like an anonymous nomination, assuming Gareth is content to accept the nomination.
Yeah, more than content. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. That leads us into item 6, which is the appointment of an internal audit working group. Whether to establish, we're asked to consider whether to establish an internal audit working group, and if we want to do that, the number of members who would sit, and then subsequently appointing the members of the working group. I guess for my benefit, and perhaps when Jane and John can advise here, what kind of topics traditionally does an internal working group support the committee with?
Shall I start?
Yes, you go, Jane.
What we found in the past is there are so many internal audit reports that come through, and the committee has to see them all. But what we found is that having a working group to consider those reports first and then feed into the committee, we're able to cover more of those reports. So we found it really useful. I know Ian will come in because I think Ian has found it extremely useful to take it through. And, you know, the committee can advise which reports they want that group to consider, or whether there's individual pieces of work that they want that working group to consider, and then feed back a report to the overall committee. Thanks
very much, Jane. So I'm kind of guessing where there's a meaty topic, the committee may remit the working group to do that. I'll bring in John, and then I'll bring in Ian.
Yeah, my only feeling on this is that, and this born from experience, is that it's possibly better to organise the committee when you know the topic you're going to be discussing, and get the appropriate skills in, because we've got a good mix of skills, and not everything is financial, not everything is governance, and you know, it's horses for courses, really. That's my suggestion.
Thanks very much, John. Ian, if you would like to come in, and then I'll bring in Councillor Peake.
Thanks, Chair. Just to reiterate some of what Jane's saying, I think that, you know, I will bring all internal audit reports that have significant issues to the committee. Sometimes the forum in the committee has is not as open as it could be. So when we meet as a group, I think there are more candid discussions and more candid observations and more open questions. So I think that's a really positive thing in terms of the improvement road to recovery. But maybe the committee could consider almost a task and finish group. You know, I don't think we need one to have a standard one in every committee cycle, but it depends what's coming up. And there's somewhat what John Browthcombe said, you know, it's horses for courses somewhat. So that's a way forward, maybe.
Thank you very much, Ian. Councillor Pete wanted to come in, and then I'll go to Councillor William.
Yeah, thanks very much, Lynn. Sorry, it was just to offer very many apologies there. I was having terrible connectivity problems, and I've only just joined the meeting. So I'd say, first of all, many apologies, and secondly, I didn't know if there might be a chance of a quick recap just where we actually are, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pete. So very, very quickly, colleagues were generous enough to nominate me as chair of the committee. John was also nominated, given his depth of experience, but for personal reasons, John has decided that he doesn't really necessarily want to make the time commitment at this point. Agenda item 2, John was very happy to be nominated and to accept the role of vice chair, for which I'm very grateful given the depth of his experience. There are apologies from one colleague, forgive me, I can't remember the name of the colleague who is away. There were no declarations of interest in connection with this agenda, and on item 5 the committee agreed with Gareth's nomination to become a member of the finance panel, and we were then just starting to discuss the agenda item around setting up internal audit working group, and the tone that you can probably gather from what you may have heard as you joined the meeting is that that it kind of depends what exactly the topic for discussion is, what the constitution of the group may be, so that we deploy the appropriate expertise to the issues that we want a working group to be examining. And that's just about where we got to.
And thank you very much, Chair, and congratulations to you and everyone else on the appointments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pete. Councillor William, you wanted to come in.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted really, if John's view that we should go with a more agile approach, depending on the skill set of individual members and the topic in question, if that became a proposal, I'd be very happy to second it, because I think it would be more appropriate, particularly given that the sort of slimmed down governance and audit committee that we now have. I think probably we need all to be available if we've got something to offer in a particular investigation or particular topic, and that's going to vary quite radically according to what that topic is. And I think you've sort of addressed that in your remarks, briefing Councillor Pete about discussion to this point. So if that was a proposal from John, I'd be happy to second it, or maybe it can be just adopted by consensus.
I do propose it.
And so I second.
Thank you very much, John and Councillor William. That sounds really sensible to me and very pragmatic, but I've got Councillor Gareth who also wants to come in on this topic. Can you unmute, Councillor Gareth?
Sorry, new laptop, so I'm struggling to get around it. I'm working 3 screens here at the moment, which isn't very helpful. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, but also it's one of those, I know we've introduced Heather with a little bit of our background, but would it be helpful to do a skilled audit of ourselves before that, which would allow us to get to that? Because all well and good doing that. From my national park experience, it was really helpful to understand what expertise we have got, because I'm sure there's more that I haven't told you about myself that may be helpful as a previous portfolio holder and employment background and stuff like that hasn't come out. So it would be perhaps helpful to do a mini skills audit of ourselves prior to that, for you as chair to cherry pick the right people in the right place as well. Just a thought.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Gareth. That strikes me as an excellent suggestion. So being guided by Jane and Wynne, what I'm hearing is a nomination and a seconder for the proposal from John that we do have a working group as part of the committee, but we don't determine membership today, but we do this on a case-by-case basis, depending on the topic that we want to remit the said working group to. Is everyone content with that? Will we do the show of hands again, Wynne?
Yes, please. That sounds fine to me.
Thank you very much, colleagues. If everyone could show their hand that they're content with that proposal. Thank you very much. Agreed unanimously, is it, Wynne, if we scan across?
It's
Sorry.
majority, certainly.
Majority, certainly.
Yes.
Thank you. And again, picking up Councillor Gareth's proposal of a skills audit, Wynne, how would we go about securing that?
I think we can probably write out to members asking if they'd come back to me with a list of various skills that I can put together in a document for you. And then we'll have that in the background to look at.
Okay. We content with that, yeah? Do we need to do a vote on that one, Wynne?
No,
right,
that's
I've got
fine.
some people wanting to come in, so I'm going to go to John first. And then...
Wynne, I seem to remember that we had a pro forma of some description for some committee earlier. It might be very useful to do that rather than everybody sort of sending in random thoughts.
Yes.
To just tick a few boxes rather than anything else, just as a starter.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it, John.
Yeah, thank you.
It will be my first challenge, but yes.
Wynne, just as an aside, I've got kind of pro forma things of that nature from other experience. So if you wanted to have a discussion about putting together a list of things that people may wish to comment on, I'm happy to help.
That'll be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Councillor Graham, you wanted to come in.
Oh, no, sorry, it's an old hand.
Oh, so it's a legacy hand.
It is. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much.
How to practice.
Thank you. So we'll put together some kind of easy to access, easy to indicate skills audit document, and we will have working groups, but they will depend on the topic that we wish to remake. Yes. Thank you everyone for agreeing that. We'll move on to item 7. Is that okay, Wynne?
Does the committee have any view on the sort of number for the committee? Because obviously, or number for the working group as a maximum. I don't want to hamper you in terms of or restrict you, because obviously, depending on skills, you may want a few more for one and a few less on the other one or whatever. But, you know, are you looking at sort of something between 3 and 5 members or something like that as a sort of guiding principle?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's realistic, because if these kind of things get too big, they can become a bit unwieldy. And I think listening to Ian's comments and John's view as well, what I'm hearing is that these would be for quite focused, candid pieces of work. Therefore, a number of 3 to 5 sounds right. But you know, on a case-by-case basis, we can always look at that. If should we need 3 to 5 sounds right.
Okay, thank you. That's fine.
Councillor Gareth. Did Councillor?
Yeah, sorry. Yes. Just on the balance, and I see that. Then this is my National Parks hat. I do apologise if it's in there and I've missed it. Working groups. Does a councillor have to be sat on there? So we've got independent members and a councillor, minimum of 1. Say 3, and you could have 3 independent members. I'm just asking a question now that we're not scrutinised later on. That I'm happy with 3 to 5, but do we need to ensure that a councillor is on there? Otherwise, or the other side is that councillors don't take it over, just out of, you know, for continuity and balance. Sorry if it's a silly question, but it's one of those that bites you.
Yes, not at all, Gareth. And actually, for working groups, it's always very difficult with small numbers to get starting point I'd usually look at is, for example, a political balance. Well, I think that's virtually impossible with small numbers, but certainly I think you need a balance across the committee between, certainly you want lay members on there, certainly you want council members on there, whether you're actually looking at, say, 2 and 3 or something or whatever in terms of lay members to council members, etc. So you've got the mix.
Could we just say at least one of each?
Yeah, at least
that's
one.
fine.
Thank you, John. That was gonna be my suggestion, a minimum of one each. Just to I don't say I'm not passionate about the 3 and the 5, but I think obviously for continuity today we must have a minimum of 1 from each to do that.
Yes.
Thanks very much for that, Gareth. Really sensible. And Gareth H, you wanted to come in as well?
Yeah, I fully agree that smaller numbers on the working groups to be focused, but they may be dealing with some hottish topics, and I wouldn't want that to preclude open discussion amongst the committee. So I wouldn't want that to abdicate the right of the wider committee to meet in private, to have that open, honest discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gareth. That is absolutely an essential part of this dynamic. I would suggest between the committee and its working groups, falling back on the fact that the working group derives its existence from the committee delegation and remit. Therefore, if there were really chunky and sensitive issues, that those detailed conversations need to happen at the formal governance forum as well as in the working group.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Gareth. That is worth bearing out. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So when do we have everything we need on agenda item 6, or is there anything?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Chair. That's great.
Okay, so moving us on to item 7, which is the draft work programme, which was attached to the agenda. So John already mentioned in our training session the importance of scheduling the chief executive of GCRE to come. So presumably that will be added as soon as we can reasonably have that.
Absolutely. One minor amendment, Chair. Ignore 24th of the 7th. I should have read 24th of the 6th.
Yes.
Slight typo, and I hadn't noticed it before the agenda went out.
Any further questions or comments on the working the draft? So I've got Councillor Gareth, and then I'm going to go to Councillor Chris.
Thank you. I note most of the meetings on Fridays. That's correct, isn't it? Because obviously today's a working day for me, so I've had to juggle a few to be there. So that's fine. Just when I commit, I like to commit properly. And I don't feel like today I'm able to commit properly because I am in work, but they have allowed me to sit in here. But I know I'm conscious I've got to get back to work and rushing and stuff like that. So obviously it's making sure that I'm able to do that.
Thank you, Gareth. Thanks very much. Councillor Chris, you wanted to come in?
No,
no,
I haven't raised my hand.
Legacy hand,
Sure.
legacy hand.
Oh, sorry.
Anyone else would like to come in this? Gareth Hall, did you want to come in this, or was that a legacy hand? Mute. Can't hear you, Gareth.
No, that was a legacy hand.
It was a legacy hand as well. Yeah. Okay. So does anyone else want to come in at this stage on the draft work programme? John?
Yeah, there were a couple of issues, I think, that were left over from the previous administration, which haven't been included here. There has been a working group, a joint working group with ECRG, the ECRG committee, looking at HALPS. And I think it's a consensus of that committee, once this transfer is finished, which will be next month, that we really ought to have a look at lessons learned from the HALPS exercise. and I think that needs to be done. It is important because we've got other things like the local authority company, which we've set up, hasn't actually traded yet, but I think there are lessons to be learned in the actual setups of these organizations before we go launching in. That is the one that strikes me immediately.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, John. Thanks. When presumably we can deal with that.
Yes, Chair, we'll need to have a discussion anyway between obviously yourself, Vice Chair, and Jane and myself about the work programming, and have a look at scheduling things, and perhaps have a further discussion with the committee itself about it.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Anything further on the emerging work programme? Not at this stage. In which case, the meeting is, we can conclude the meeting, yes, Wyn, or is there any other business?
No, nothing whatsoever, Chair. You can close the meeting.
Right, the meeting is closed, and thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance today. And I greatly look forward to working with you and getting to know everyone as we go forward.
Congratulations, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you.